The cafeteria smelled faintly of burnt coffee and reheated soup, but Elena barely noticed as she stormed out, her heels clattering against the polished linoleum floor. The sound echoed too loudly in the near-empty room, each step fueled by frustration she could no longer bottle up. Her coworkers had been watching, whispering behind their cups, and that last cutting remark had pushed her over the edge. "Don't follow me," she snapped, her voice sharp but trembling, as though it carried the weight of 100 unshed tears. The words weren't just aimed at the man she'd been arguing with but at everyone who had pried into her life, everyone who demanded strength from her when she had nothing left to give. She didn't look back. Her blazer sleeve caught on the cold metal of the swinging door, nearly ripping the seam as she yanked herself free. Her bag swung against her hip, spilling its contents slightly open. She fumbled for her phone, the screen buzzing with an incoming call, but her fingers were too unsteady to swipe it. The phone slipped from her grip, clattering into the bottom of her bag with a hollow thud. With a sharp inhale, she shoved it down further, as if hiding it from herself. In the far corner of the cafeteria, a man paused mid-swipe of his mop. Sam had been invisible for years, cleaning when others were done, moving quietly in spaces where no one noticed him. But now, his weary brown eyes followed Elena's retreating figure. There was something in her voice, something raw and fractured, that pulled at him like a cord plucked too hard. He glanced down at his reflection in the bucket of soapy water, work shirt damp at the collar, calloused hands gripping the mop handle. He wasn't anyone special, just the janitor, just the single dad who worked nights so his daughter could eat and dream of brighter tomorrows. He wasn't supposed to get involved. But Elena's shaky stride, the way she hugged her bag close like it was both shield and burden, left him uneasy. As the cafeteria door swung shut behind her, Sam found himself listening to the fading rhythm of her heels. Each click sounded like a countdown, though he didn't know to what. Something in his gut whispered that whatever storm she was walking into, it wasn't just another bad day. Sam froze in the middle of the cafeteria, mop still dripping sudsy water onto the tiles. His first thought was the most practical one: it's not my business. Don't interfere. Clean your floor and go home to Lily. That was the voice of habit, the one he had built to survive years of blending into the background. People rarely looked at the janitor twice, and Sam had grown comfortable in that invisibility. But the second thought wouldn't let go. He had seen something in Elena's bag when it had swung open, something small and silver, the cap scratched, the faint sound of rattling when it shifted. A pill bottle, not the kind you carried casually, not with that much weight in your stride and that much fire in your voice. His pulse began to race. What if it's nothing? What if I'm just imagining it? He could almost hear his daughter's voice in his mind, piping high and earnest from bedtime stories. "Daddy, you always say people need kindness most when they act like they don't want it." Sam set the mop carefully against the wall, as though any noise might give away his intentions. His work shoes squeaked faintly on the tiles as he moved toward the exit. He wiped his damp hands on his faded shirt, leaving darker patches that spread slowly across the fabric. The hallway outside the cafeteria was poorly lit, the hum of the fluorescent lights uneven. Elena's footsteps echoed ahead of him, fast, uneven, almost like she was trying to outrun herself. Her shadow flickered across the wall, stretched and broken in the dim light. Sam followed at a distance, careful not to make his presence obvious. He told himself it was only to make sure she was safe, nothing more. Yet every step forward made his chest tighten. Halfway down the corridor, Elena stumbled against the wall, pressing her shoulder into it as though steadying herself. She pressed her hand against her face, and even from where Sam stood, he could see the tremor in her fingers. She whispered something under her breath, words too soft to catch, but the tone carried, low, jagged, almost like a plea. Sam's instincts sharpened. He knew that sound. He had heard it years ago in his own home, when his wife had stood at the bathroom sink long after the water stopped running. Back then, he hadn't stepped in soon enough. He had promised himself he would never ignore it again. He glanced around the empty hallway. There was no one else. No colleague, no friend, only him, the janitor with tired eyes and a mop left behind in the cafeteria. It didn't matter that she had snapped at him, that she had told him not to follow. His heart was already moving his feet. And with each step closer, Sam couldn't shake the thought, she isn't heading home. She's heading somewhere to end this. The stairwell was narrow, lit by buzzing bulbs that flickered as if they too were exhausted. Sam trailed after Elena, keeping his distance, his breath coming heavier the higher they climbed. Each flight echoed with the sharp rhythm of her heels and the softer thud of his worn-out shoes. At the top, she shoved the door open so hard it slammed against the outer wall. Cold night air swept in, sharp and biting, carrying the distant noise of the city below, horns blaring, tires screeching, laughter from bars spilling into the streets. Life thrived down there, but up here, above it all, Elena stood at the edge of something much darker. She walked quickly toward the ledge, her blazer whipping in the wind, one hand clenched around the small bottle she had taken from her bag. She twisted at the cap with trembling fingers, the pills rattling inside like dice thrown in a gamble she wasn't meant to win. "Please, don't," Sam said, his voice breaking the silence. Elena spun around, her hair catching in the wind. Her eyes, wild and glassy, locked on him. "I told you not to follow me," she shouted, the anger sharp but thin, like glass ready to shatter. Sam raised his hands, palms open, as though approaching a cornered animal. "I know, I heard you, but I couldn't let you walk out here alone." Her lip trembled. For a moment, she looked ready to scream at him again. Instead, her knees gave way, and she sank to the gravelly rooftop, clutching the pill bottle against her chest. "You don't understand," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "No one does. I've been holding it all together for so long, and I can't anymore. The pressure, the silence, it's like drowning with everyone watching and no one reaching out." The words sliced into Sam. He took a cautious step closer, the crunch of gravel loud in the quiet. "You're right," he said softly. "I don't know every detail of your fight, but I know what it looks like when someone's ready to give up." He paused, his throat tightening. "Because I've seen it before. My wife." He swallowed hard, fighting the old ache that never fully left. "She couldn't carry the weight any longer. She left me and our daughter with questions I'll never have answers to." Elena's head snapped up, her tear-streaked face pale in the city glow. Sam pressed a hand to his chest, as if steadying himself. "I live with the silence she left behind. Every night, when my little girl asks me why her mommy's not here, I have to fight not to break down. And you know what I'd give? I'd give anything, to have had one more chance to stop her, to tell her she wasn't alone, to tell her tomorrow might look different." The rooftop air hung heavy between them. Elena's grip on the pill bottle slackened, though she didn't let go just yet. Tears welled again in her eyes, blurring the neon cityscape behind Sam. His words weren't polished or rehearsed. They were raw, jagged truths torn straight from a wound he still carried. And in that brutal honesty, she felt something she hadn't in a long time, someone seeing past the mask, into the pain she'd hidden so well. For a long, unbearable moment, the rooftop was silent except for the restless wind. It tugged at Elena's hair, pushed against Sam's faded shirt, and rattled the small pill bottle between her hands. The city stretched endlessly below, bright, alive, uncaring. Elena stared at the bottle like it was both weapon and salvation. Her knuckles widened as she gripped it, her breaths coming in sharp, uneven bursts. "You don't get it," she whispered, her voice almost lost to the wind. "Every day, I wake up already tired. I smile for people who only want what I can give them, not who I am. And when the lights go out, I'm left with nothing. Just me, and I hate that me." Sam moved closer, slowly, each step deliberate. He knew he couldn't rush her. Desperation only pushed people further toward the edge. His voice was steady, quiet, carrying the weight of someone who had lived too long with regret. "I get more of it than you think. You hate the silence after everyone leaves. You hate the mask you have to wear. And you hate believing no one would notice if you disappeared." Her eyes darted to him, wide, wet. She hadn't said those words aloud, but he had spoken them as if he'd read her soul. Sam's chest rose and fell heavily. "When my wife left, I thought about giving up too. Not because I wanted to die, but because I didn't know how to live anymore. The only thing that stopped me was Lily. She was so little, she needed me. Every time I looked at her, I realized, if I gave in, she'd never know how much she was loved." His voice cracked, but he pressed on. "Maybe you don't think anyone needs you. But I swear, someone does. Someone you haven't even met yet. Or maybe someone who's been waiting for you to believe you matter. The words sank in like stones breaking the surface of still water. Alina's shoulders shook as sobs tore out of her, sudden and raw. The pill bottle slipped from her fingers and clattered against the rooftop, rolling until Sam caught it. He didn't pocket it immediately. Instead, he crouched down, holding it loosely in his hand where she could see. "You don't have to carry this alone anymore," he said softly. Her hands covered her face as tears streamed freely now. Why would you even care? You don't know me." Sam set the bottle aside, then lowered himself to sit near her, not too close, not too far. "Because I promised my daughter that I would never walk past someone who looked like they were hurting. Because I know what it feels like to scream inside and have no one hear you. And because sometimes, strangers care when the people closest don't." That broke her. She leaned toward him, collapsing against his shoulder, her sobs muffled against the rough fabric of his shirt. Sam didn't flinch. He simply lifted one arm, steady but gentle, and held her the way he used to hold Lily when nightmares woke her at night, firm enough to remind her she wasn't alone, soft enough not to cage her in. Minutes passed before her breathing slowed. The city still roared beneath them, but up here, in that fragile pocket of silence, something shifted. Elena wasn't healed, not yet. But she had let someone see her brokenness. She had been caught before she could fall. As Sam finally tucked the pill bottle deep into his pocket, Elena whispered hoarsely, "Thank you." He shook his head. "Don't thank me. Just promise me you'll try again tomorrow. That's all. One day at a time." And for the first time in a long while, she nodded.